Hey everybody, hope you're all having a great day. Today I'm going to be reacting to another video by Jaden Animations called My Birds Laid Eggs. As a bird nerd, I'm very interested in watching this video and reacting to it. I'll include the original video in the description below. Please like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get watching.
Hey guys, I know it's
Hey
been a
Jaden.
while since I've had a story to tell.
Yeah?
But I have a story to tell.
Cool.
And it's because my birds accidentally laid eggs together without my consent.
Without
Okay,
your
let's back up.
consent.
I'm sure the majority...
Without your consent, that's funny. Last time I checked, birds or really any species don't need human consent to try to, reproduce. They're just doing their thing. And the phrase "without my consent" I found actually kind of funny. It actually reminded me of those like Karen in the Wild videos. They're always freaking out like, "He's filming me without my consent." I'm not calling Jaden a Karen. I know she's like the least Karen-like human on the planet. I'm just saying that phrase reminded me of those videos. Moving on.
of you know this guy right here, Ari.
Hey,
Classic
Ari.
piece in the Jaden Animations lore. If you don't know him, you don't know me. I keep Ari in his own room because he destroys literally anything if he has access to it. In a
That's
way,
a bummer.
you can call it a containment room.
A tiny straitjacket.
To give him attention, I wanted to make sure he has a friend around and isn't just sitting there all alone and pitiful-like. So back in October 2019, I got Tofu, which,
Aw,
oh
Tofu.
my God, I was realizing is much...
Tofu, can we agree that is the most Jaden-like name she could have chosen for that bird? Last time I checked, Jaden's vegan, so it makes total sense for her to name her bird after a vegan food product. And it's kind of funny because her calling that bird Tofu, it reminds me of Robert IDK. He calls his rats collectively, he calls them muffins. So I think it's funny. Do any other YouTubers call their pets food products? Let me know if you know anybody who does that.
Longer ago than I thought. Tofu, I thought you were still just a baby.
Oh,
Definitely
puppy
isn't
eyes.
as well known as Ari, but we're talking about her now. I was so nervous back when Tofu first arrived because I obviously hadn't gotten any other pets before, and it was really important that she and Ari actually got along. Birds can be pretty particular, and some just flat out hate each other for no apparent reason.
Kind of like
bird
cats.
drama or something, I don't know. I was worried my birds were gonna mean girls each other, and then suddenly
Mean
I'd
girls.
have two singular birds, which then doubles my original problem. I went through the typical process you're supposed to do to introduce them, keep them in separate areas for a bit, let them kind of see each other, slowly introduce them in small doses, and suddenly they were best friends. I was...
Good job, Jaden. I gotta say, we need more responsible pet owners like Jaden. I think lots of times people get pets and they don't realize the responsibilities that are required to take care of them. Like, you can't just like randomly introduce cats or dogs or whatever to each other immediately. If you do, it'll just be like just a total mess and things won't work out and everybody will be miserable. So I'm glad she did her homework. So good job, Jaden.
so happy. Plan B of having to get 4 birds was now not necessary. So
Good.
Great, everything was going according to plan. I have 2 birds that can keep each other company when I'm not around. Nothing could possibly go wrong when there's a pair of animals that get along very well. It was a peaceful, happy 3 years of 2 birds who were besties until this past spring where everything went wrong. How could this happen? I walked into the birds' room to give them their morning food, and on their dresser, I find 3 tiny little eggs. Oh, uh-oh. And by the way, when I say tiny, I mean you would be shocked to see how small bird eggs can be. These things were the size of a quarter. Some
Those
of you
are
may
small
be
eggs.
thinking, Jaden, why is this a bad thing? Jaden, it's the gift of life. This is a beautiful moment of miracles. Okay, sure, but actually, no. First of all, I don't want more birds, especially fragile little fresh out the egg ones. Remember when I was worried I'd have to get 4 birds if Ari and Tofu didn't like each other? Why am I experiencing the same dilemma again? 2 birds is already enough, especially since one of them has devoted his entire life to being a full-time bastard.
Full-time bastard. I swear, that describes Ari to a T. And, that really is a good point Jaden has, especially, like, about, like, baby birds. Baby birds are really fragile, and especially if they're, like, some birds, mature faster than others and need more parental care. Like, for a while, I volunteered at a wildlife rehabilitation center at a local zoo, and I remember trying to feed baby birds, and learning like what you had to do to watch them, they required lots of work. They need near constant heat. They need to be fed like all the time. So you have to be really dedicated. So it's understandable if you already have a handful like Ari, you don't want to add babies to the mix. So I'm glad that Jaden's aware of her limitations.
Understands that creature is equal to like 3 pets worth of energy. It's
Oh
a lot
man.
to handle at all times, and if my plate gets any more full, I'll unlock alcoholism.
Unlock
This is
alcoholism.
now my problem that I need to handle ASAP. I can't be like, oh, I'm busy right now, I'll deal with it later. No, procrastinating would only lead to possible hatching. Not 100%, but there's a chance. I'll get to that later. Which leads back to my prior statement that I've stated multiple times at this point of I don't want more birds.
Okay, you made your
Immediately,
point.
I was like, how did this happen? I've been preventing them from laying eggs together for so long. What changed? Unlike cats and dogs, birds can't really be neutered, at least not easily. You could give them like monthly hormone shots or there's other stuff, but it's just really complicated. And you're better off simply making sure their environment is set up in a way to discourage nesting and egg laying behavior. There's a few things you could do to prevent it, but to sum things up, basically, don't let the birds nest. If they find a dark little
It's that
hidey
simple,
hole,
huh?
they'll start treating it like a nest and get hormonal, and suddenly you've got eggs. No nesting, for the most part, no problem. I looked around the room and was so confused. All they had in there were their cages, climbing tree, and a drawer I bought to hold all their bird stuff. And the eggs were just on the top of the drawer too, not even in a safe burrowed nest-like place.
Are you
One
serious?
had already rolled off the side and cracked open on the floor like an omelet. Tofu, this is not even close to motherly instincts. After
Yeah, that's a very good point, Jaden. It's like, why would you just lay your eggs on top of a desk or a piece of furniture? That literally makes no sense at all. And I'm glad that she explained like how it is difficult to, neuter birds because like male birds, you can't like treat it like dogs, it's a little bit more invasive in order to do what you need to do to prevent breeding. So I'm glad that she kind of educated us about that a bit.
a bit of snooping around, I pulled the drawer back from the wall to realize, oh my god.
What?
These birds have been secretly burrowing into the back of this
Wow.
drawer like they were plotting a prison escape. Somehow, Ari and Tofu squeezed their tiny bodies in between the drawer and the wall.
Like the
and
Grinch
started
going down the
chewing
chimney.
the back of it to get into the drawers from behind. They literally gnawed through it like the nematodes in SpongeBob. You should have seen all the sawdust on the floor.
Wow.
Well, here's a picture, but it doesn't do it justice.
Okay, this is a reason like why, even though I'm a bird nerd, I don't want birds for pets. It seems like they can be pretty destructive if you let them. I'm happy with cats or dogs, thank you very much. But Jaden, props to you for having the energy and mental fortitude to deal with this kind of behavior. It's a lot better than I could do.
It looked like a construction site and smelled like Home Depot. Suddenly
What
it
Home
made
Depot
sense.
you going
They
to?
were using the drawer as a secret nest. Whenever I was in the room, they were out and about. Hi, Mom, please give us seeds. Nothing nefarious is going on. I leave, and boom, straight to the forbidden nesting drawer they go.
That's funny. Can you imagine, like, if your birds actually used, like, articulate sentences like that? I mean, I know it was a joke when Ari was talking just then. I know it was a joke. Can you imagine if, like, birds actually did that? I mean, I know some parrots can talk. But last I checked, they don't have, like, really complex sentence structure. At least that's based on my understanding. That would be so freaking weird to hear that from a bird's mouth.
Criminals. As I'm connecting
For
the
feathered
dots
criminals.
on how it got to this point, I realized I don't even know which one of these knuckleheads even laid the eggs.
Wait, what?
When I got Tofu, I
Hang on a second. First of all, I thought Ari was male. You're telling me this whole time you never figured out whether he was male or female? Seriously? I just can't imagine that. I mean, in a way it makes sense. I mean, if you're not planning on breeding your birds, there's no real reason to worry about it. Yeah, it doesn't make that much sense to me anyway. And also, on a more positive note, I haven't heard the term knucklehead in ages. It brings me back to like watching Three Stooges with my dad. Jaden's bringing it back. Moving on.
made sure she was a girl.
Okay.
A little lady. I talked to one of my bird
The bird
knowledgeable
lady.
friends when I was considering getting another, and she recommended a female bird because there was a higher chance Ari would get along with her more than a male bird. So Tofu has been DNA checked and female certified. However, way back when I got Ari, I never got him/her checked. Green cheek conure genders can only be confirmed through DNA tests, and there
Really?
wasn't really any important reason to know Ari's gender at the time, so I just didn't. Over the years, I've just started calling him my big man because
Big
the way
man.
he acted and behaviors he displayed felt very obnoxiously masculine, but it was always more of a gut feeling.
All right, that's kind of understandable. Yet I want to like throw this in. I'm not trying to be like a nitpicky jerk, but technically, Ari, Tofu, and really any other non-human entity technically doesn't have a gender. Your gender is who you are based on cultural norms of masculinity or femininity, while your biological sex is who you are based on your DNA. And how to say this without getting demonetized? Your reproductive anatomy. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. As a result, humans are technically the only species with proper genders. Every other species in the world that reproduces sexually just has different sexes. It's a common misunderstanding. Just wanted to throw that out there. Moving on.
Above anything else. But I am now facing a possible reality that my bird I've had for 7 years that I've been headcanoning is male could have been female this whole time
Easy,
and is the
Jaden.
potential mother of these confusing eggs. Because yes, birds don't need a male around to lay eggs. Think about it like chickens. They just be laying eggs out the wazoo without a rooster in sight. They don't
Yep.
care. Boom, egg. If it's a girl bird, that thing can lay eggs whether you
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I used to live with family members who have chickens, and even though they did have a rooster, I think for a while they didn't, so they were still able to produce eggs. Hens and pretty much any other domesticated bird, especially, do not require a male to produce eggs. I don't know why that is. It's just a thing. So that's another point for you, Jaden. I appreciate your bird knowledge.
or a male bird wants it to or not.
It's like
so
Chicken
in
Run.
this situation, Ari possibly being a girl is the thing that's blowing my mind the most. But one quick peek at their little bird booty hole swiftly
Bird
gave me
booty
the
holes.
answer. It was definitely Tofu.
Okay.
If you know, you know. I'm just saying, laying 3 eggs a quarter the size of your whole body biologically does something to you. Anyway,
Yeah,
I
probably.
immediately booked a vet visit for Tofu.
Yeah, can you imagine, like, anyone out there who happens to have a uterus, imagine if you managed to give birth to an infant that was like a quarter of your size of your body and doing that multiple times. That sounds like very strenuous, to say the least.
Laying eggs drains birds of their calcium and
Yep,
overall
that's
health,
true.
so I wanted to make sure she was generally okay. The vet took a look at her and was like, she looks fine, she's acting fine, we'll give her some vitamins, but she's still got more eggs in her.
Really?
What? Tofu, how many of those things you're gonna cook up? Also, we gotta limit this whole ordeal to as minimal as possible, please, because that vet bill was not fun. We can't be making this a routine occurrence. It's no mystery laying eggs can also be pretty dangerous for birds. There's a chance it could get stuck and the bird just dies.
Yep, definitely
and to be
true.
honest, I really didn't want that to happen.
I
so
hope you
every
don't.
egg meant an extra mountain of stress and anxiety for me. Yippee! The vet told me conures typically lay eggs every other day, so once she goes a few days without laying any, then I can come back and get her another checkup to really make sure she's all good. So I let
That's
time
good.
pass.
1 egg-yillion
and
years
in
later.
total, Tofu ended up laying 8 freaking eggs.
What?
She was
8
not
eggs?
supposed to lay that many. Normally, conures lay clutches of like 4 or 5, so she basically laid 2 birds worth of eggs.
Wow, that's actually kind of impressive, yet disturbing. How such a tiny bird manages to produce so many eggs. That's just insane. I appreciate all the information we're getting here. I swear, if Jaden should do this more often. She should like teach us more bird facts. I'm really enjoying this.
I don't know what to do. But all right, she's finally done. We can now move on to the second step in the what to do when your bird lays eggs without your permission plan. I have to swap out the eggs for fake ones. If I just yoink Tofu's eggs away, she's gonna be like, What the My eggs? Dude, what the hell? I just laid those. And she's biologically programmed to start laying more to replace them.
True.
Luckily, my friends Jordan and Kelsey had some fake conure eggs because coincidentally, their bird laid eggs like 6 months prior to Tofu, so they already went through this process and were definitely supplying me with mental support. They lent me their fake
We need
eggs,
friends like
swapped
that.
them out, and perfect. Tofu is now trying to be a mother of 8 balls of plastic. After a few weeks of them not hatching, she'll move on, forget all about them, and everything will return to normal. It was a successful heist.
That's good. And also, it kind of reminds me of like what they do for like reintroduction of like endangered birds. For example, they did this with not condors, with condors, like California condors, and presumably other like birds like eagles and kestrels and falcons and stuff like that. If the birds aren't breeding at a high enough rate, what they'll do is they'll take the eggs from the mother bird, replace them with fake eggs, and then they'll artificially hand raise them. So that way they can give the bird the better chance of survival. And that can really help increase their population. So it's kind of similar to what Jaden's doing here, even though obviously her intention isn't to help sustain her bird population, it's to stop them from breeding more. So it's a very good parallel. So good job, Jaden.
As in, I gave them both treats, stole all their eggs right in front of them, and they did not notice. You might be
Cool.
realizing, even though Tofu's eggs won't hatch, I still am in possession of actual real bird eggs that may or may not be fertilized. Yep, as much as Ari could have been the mother, he could also be the father. We don't know. Big drama. Are you the father? More like, is there even a father? After consulting with the vet and various bird resources, I basically had to make sure no birds could start growing in them just in case. Even though it's very likely they were just empty little chicken eggs, we couldn't run the risk. By the various resources aforementioned, I was given a few options. I
Okay.
was told I could smash them, which felt a tad bit too violent for me.
I'd say so.
Tofu, are these your little eggs? The first eggs you've ever laid in your life?
The look of bewilderment.
Absolutely not.
That would be terrifying. Like, imagine if you had just had babies, right? Anyone watching out there, imagine you had like babies or very little kids, and all of a sudden some giant alien comes around and smashes them. That's like the equivalent of what that would be like for a bird. That would be terrifying.
I could freeze them, just put them in a little container, pop them in the freezer, and there you go. But the last option, which sounded the most insane in my opinion, was to boil them. Make
Yeah, that
tiny
sounds
little
messed
boiled
up.
eggs. Why does that one sound the most deranged and psychopathic? I
It
know
truly
people
does.
consume all types of bird eggs all over the world, but boiling my own conures eggs just feels way past the line in mental sanity. So
I'd have to
I popped
agree.
them in the freezer to hang on to whatever humanity I had left after all this, and they've been there ever since. I still have them. I'll go to
Really?
grab a popsicle and be like, oh, hello, tofu eggs. I don't know. Even though they won't hatch, they still feel special. They're my little baby tofu's little baby eggs. I don't want to just throw them away like they're nothing. I'll just keep them in my freezer forever because that's somehow the most sane option I was given. Some people might be like, Jaden, you should have tried to let them hatch. But you do not understand. I am absolutely definitely not qualified to raise baby birds. I promise this was the best thing to do for everyone.
I understand where Jaden's coming from, but the way I see it, she could have taken them to like the vet or like a wildlife rehabilitation clinic. They'd probably have the tools to figure out if the eggs are even fertilized. And if they were fertilized, they probably could have put them in an incubator and raised them and then given the newly hatched baby birds to anyone who wanted a bird for a pet. I mean, I know there's a chance that they could have been just empty chicken eggs, but still, I mean, you potentially dropped the ball, Jaden. I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I understand where other people are coming from too.
For me, for the eggs,
Dunce.
for Ari and Tofu, God knows Ari would have been an awful father or mother. So that's what I've been dealing with over the past few months. Tofu's fine now. She's essentially back to normal.
That's good.
I've removed the secret nest drawer they have claimed. I'm sure they weren't too happy about that one, but hey, you reap what you sow. People will tell me, oh, you're the reason I want a bird. And I always think to myself, man, That's unfortunate.
That's
Majority
unfortunate.
of people are not suited to own a bird. Case 1, they can cut through furniture like chainsaws.
Like
Case
a
2,
Tasmanian
they can
devil.
lay eggs and curse you to put them in the freezer like the egg murderer you are.
Egg
Or
murderer.
worse, I love my birds with all my heart, but if anyone ever asks me if they make good pets, I turn into the biggest hater. And if you're a good bird owner, you'd probably agree with me. Birds are beautiful, intelligent, loyal companions, but they're also knife tornadoes who can force you to
Knife
question your own
tornadoes.
mortality as you spend a fortune on vet bills.
Well, that was another very funny and very informative video by Jane Animations. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Ari and Tofu in future videos. If you guys want me to react to more of Jaden videos, let me know in the comments below. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!